Welcome to Attenuation, a weekly podcast where two friends come together to drink beer, discuss beer styles and trends, and just generally ruminate on the meaning of life, aka beer. If you enjoy your time with us, we invite you to become a weekly listener and subscribe to the podcast. Without further ado, here is this week's episode.
Hello, and welcome to episode 73 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
Hello.
How are you doing today, sir?
Wonderful.
Are you ready to drink beer and talk about beer?
I am. I'm a little sad. I have to work tomorrow.
It's not your Friday?
It's not my Friday today. I have a real Friday this week.
Did you pick a low ABV beer?
Yeah, middle of the road.
It's a school night. Night. All right, cool. Well, today we're going to do a deep dive into dark lagers to try to fill out the other half of our light lagers deep dive we did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we're going to complete the thing. It almost feels a little weird that we did the light ones first, because the dark ones are a little bit more of the OGs. But
I realized that the second I started reading. Oh, we did this in the wrong order. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But, of course, before we get to that, we have to do our favorite part of the podcast, which is the drinking beer segment. So the way this works is I introduce my beer, give notes. Steven does the same. Then we cheers and do tasting notes. All right, Steven, I did not pick a school night beer. And I have
you picked a big one.
My beer fridge is just full of barrel-aged stouts, so it is what it is.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Ooh, I'm excited. I just got a glimpse of the can.
Yeah, I've never had a Hoppin frog. They make all these different barrel-aged stouts that are called like D.O.R.I.S and Boris, and they're all D.O.R.I.S. So this is D.O.R.I.S the Destroyer Double Imperial Stout, and it was aged in whiskey barrels. This is a Russian Imperial Stout. It's 10.5% alcohol.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, and it's just a tall can, so we'll see. 16 ounces, if I handle it. And, for fun, I'm drinking out of my goblet.
Nice.
Because we talked about this goblet a couple episodes ago, and I realized I had not pulled it down from the shelf for a long time. Okay, this is crazy. It's poured I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but the head is almost like red brown, and it quickly dissipated. The body is oily, thick, super, super deep brown black.
I like it in the goblet, too. It looks cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right? Oh, there's a ton of chocolate, bourbon notes, coffee, a little bitter, burnt wood, maybe. Interesting. I think this one's going to be intense.
All right. Yeah, I see those beers on tap a lot, and
they have decent ratings.
They don't really tempt me. So.
No, yeah, I think this is a 94. So it's got a good score on Beer Advocate, so I assume it's going to be good.
Okay, cool. I am drinking Green Yield, a New England style IPA from the Drownedlands Brewery in Warwick, New York, which is upstate New York. They just opened in 2020.
Oh, brand new.
Yeah, they're a coronavirus brewery.
Yeah.
It's a tough year to open, but they opened in 2020. They were named one of Pop Culture's 10 best new breweries and one of USA Today's best new breweries of 2021. And they took the trophy for best brewery in New York they have a New York craft beer and food festival called TAP. So they won best brewery there.
Nice, they're making their mark.
Yeah, so kind of some of the reasons why I picked this one up. I was should check this out, see what they're doing with their New England style IPA game. This is dry hopped with Simcoe, Mosaic, and Citra hops, of course. I have another one of those. I have an Anchorage beer that I just got that has I think it has Phantasm powder in it or Cosmic Punch yeast or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Beautiful New England style IPA. It's a nice yellowy orange.
We're terrible at colors.
But hazy, not like the haziest IPA I've ever seen, but nice big foamy head on the top. I think there's oats in this, maybe some wheat as well.
Yeah, make it a little creamy and give it that good head retention.
Yeah, Pilsner malt, oats, and wheat. Yep.
There you go.
Definitely has that protein that creates that head retention. It's a really nice nose. It's kind of a vegetal nose, so a lot of evergreen pine, a dank pineapple, maybe a touch of peach in the nose as well too. So pineapple peach, and then like a nice dank woody pine note.
Sounds good. All right, cheers, sir.
All right, cheers, man.
This one is really good. I really
Nice.
like it. Yeah, it's on the entrance you get bourbon sweetness and charred wood. It's actually a little hoppy. You get a little bit of bitter hop right after that, and then the sweetness comes back, and you get like a flash of almost like milk chocolate, but then it's almost followed immediately by more of a dark chocolate flavor, and then I get a little bit of vanilla, and then the finish is really long and it absolutely tastes like whiskey.
Nice.
Like that whiskey barrel does really come through at the end, which is awesome because sometimes I think it's kind of gimmicky when they put them in different barrels, but not only does it taste like whiskey at the end, but it kind of goes with the rest of the beer. So really excellent execution, and it rides that perfect balance of sweet but not too sweet. This is really good for me. I would definitely give this a thumbs up. Maybe 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Where is that brewery from?
So I was just looking that up. They're in Ohio.
Okay.
And specifically they are in Akron, which is just south of Cleveland.
Okay. Hoppin Frog. All right.
Hoppin Frog. Kind of a
Nice.
fun name for a brewery. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
All
cool.
right. How was your beer?
Mine's really good too. One of the things I was reading about this beer is that they actually fermented it a little bit drier, so they like a higher attenuation yeast, right? So more of that sugar gets converted to alcohol, makes it less sweet. So it's really interesting because it finishes dry, but then the dry hopping adds so much to the sort of the juiciness, that juicy IPA kind of tropical flavors and aromas. But yeah, it's just interesting that you get a lot of those, but it doesn't come with a lot of the sweetness that you might associate with sort of your normal New England IPAs. It finishes a lot drier, but it's kind of medium bodied when you drink it, probably coming from those oats and wheat thickening the body a little bit. And then you get really nice notes of peach, honeydew, cantaloupe, melon, and then just some nice dank pine flavors as well. And there is this like sort of peachy sweetness on the lips, but again, that goes away very quickly, and the whole back of the mouth dryness comes in the finish. But
Nice.
yeah. It's very
Sounds
good.
super good.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's very unique in that it finishes way drier than I think any New England IPA I've ever had, and it's really good. It's cool.
I think
thumbs up.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting kind of like spin a little bit. It's giving it its own like kind of uniqueness. And then I love it's kind of new concept to me. I guess like I never looked for it, or maybe it's becoming more popular, but melon flavor in an IPA is like, I think my melon is maybe peach are like I think my 2 favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Some of that comes from the Simcoe.
Okay.
I think too. It doesn't mention on the can, but it mentioned it in the description of the beer on Beer Advocate from the brewery that they use Amarillo hops as well. That definitely has some melon components to it. So Amarillo. The Mosaic's gonna usually contribute some like berry flavors, like blueberry, strawberry, which might be there. Blueberry is always so kind of subtle for me. It's hard to pick that one out unless it's like I drank a all Mosaic IPA the other day, and there you could really pick it out. So when it's by itself, you can kind of pick that out. But in the context of this one, I don't really get that. I'm getting a lot more of that melon and like peach flavor.
Gotcha. Very good. So a 2 thumbs up, Dave. That's always a good start to the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to drink this. I want to drink more of this. I like a lot more of this.
Do you have another can in reserve? Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh no.
This is Tapware. Okay, I buy one can at a time.
Yeah, it's too risky to go.
What do you think
multiples.
I am, rich?
Well, and you're like doubling down on something you don't even know if you're gonna like. So
Hey, they do have the buy more, save more. Okay.
hey, the Tapware app is safely deleted off my phone right now. And 5 more months, I'll reactivate it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I can't delete it because I need to know what's on there just in case.
That's how they
just
get
in
you.
case there's something I have to have. But trust me, I'm very picky. Also, I have a huge gift card to the beer shop that all my friends gave me for my birthday.
Nice.
And I'm not gonna buy any beer anywhere else other than there for a while. There's no reason for me to spend money on beer anywhere else. But I have to know. It's the FOMO. I can't not know what's on there. Even if there's something like in any other situation I would absolutely grab, I still usually have enough willpower to be like, nah, it's fine, whatever. I'll live without it. But I still like to know that it was on there.
Well, didn't you tell me the other day they had fundamental observation on there?
Yeah, they had it on there again because you
Can't
got it
believe
on
I missed
there.
it.
No, you got it on Craft Shack.
I bought it from Craft Shack, and I paid a fortune for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Logic's releasing a lot of stuff to Tapware these days. So
I gotta reinstall it. I need my fundamental observation. Okay. All right, let's move on before you tempt me into the dark side.
you haven't drank that one yet, have you? Right?
No, so I was gonna drink it for my birthday, but it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time I thought about getting around to it, and I was like, nah, I'm way too old. Too old to be drinking a fundamental observation at 10 o'clock. So I'll probably bring it over for. I'm really torn. This is how I'm a bad person in certain ways. Like
That's you should share it, but you don't want to share it.
100%. So I should just bring it. We have like Sunday dinner where like my immediate family and the husbands and all the wives and all the stuff get together, and I could bring it there, but then I have to split it like 7 ways, and I don't know if I want to do that, Steven. I kind of want. I wish you were here. We just drink it, you and me, but because I want them to experience that good beer, but also it's my favorite beer on earth. I don't want to get 1/7 of the bottle. You know what I mean? So
right.
I'm greedy in that way, I guess.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So we'll see. Maybe I'll bring it. We'll be sick of beer. I was gonna say I'll bring it. Well, we can get it maybe at Great American.
Yeah, we'll probably get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. So next we have postscripts, beer news, and our newest segment making its third comeback, story time with Steve. So
surprisingly, I have another story to tell.
Hey, as long as you got stories, we can share them. This is our podcast. We can do anything we want. All right, but we do have a postscript.
Yeah, very important one.
Yeah, a critical question, very close to my heart. What are the key differences between Coke Zero and Diet Coke? We found out what they are.
Yeah, we looked it up. This is from our Other Things We Drink episode because, I mean, we both love Coke Zero. But
yeah,
why?
I'm a zero person for sure.
But the question is why?
So here's the thing. They're both sweetened with aspartame. So then I was like, wait, why do these taste so different? But Coke Zero also uses something called, I'm going to mess this up, but they call it ACE-K. We'll do that for short. It's asulfamane potassium. So there's a second artificial sweetener there, so I'm sure that plays like a pretty big part in it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that Diet Coke uses citric acid, and Coke Zero does not. So that's probably playing a pretty big part. And then the one thing that won't affect the flavor that kind of blew my mind, I didn't know this, but Coke Zero has less caffeine than Diet Coke.
Interesting. Might affect the flavor a little bit.
Yeah, do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so yeah, maybe that is affecting the flavor too. So,
like, have you ever had caffeine-free Diet Coke?
I've had yeah, I have.
It's terrible.
Well, first of all, don't even get me started. I gave up caffeine for like 6 months, but I love soda, so I was drinking caffeine-free diet Coke, and it's like, what is even the point anymore? Yeah. There's no sugar and no caffeine, but that's what I was drinking.
Well, sometimes you just need the bubbles and the flavor and the fake sweet.
But that period of my life is over, Steven. I'm back on the zero train.
Yeah.
So anyways, the different mix of sweeteners, maybe the less caffeine, and then that difference between the citric acid, I think that makes a big difference. And so that is why they taste different.
Yeah, and who knows, there may be some other reformulation too of like the flavors that they use.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
whatever
definitely.
Natural flavors they use. I know that with the Zero brand, they were trying to get back to more of a simulate regular Coke. Yeah,
and I think they succeeded. I think Coke Zero tastes way more like regular Coke than Diet Coke.
Yeah, I will say I honestly don't even think I know what real Coke tastes like anymore because I just do not drink full sugar soda. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't. You probably wouldn't even like it because you get really used to whatever you drink every day, and then when you deviate, you're like, wait, this tastes weird.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be weird, but yes, definitely like Coke Zero. I definitely drank Diet Coke and then switched to Coke Zero when it came out, and like have never gone back. So obviously there's something about Coke Zero that I like better.
Yeah, I clicked over immediately. I never looked back.
Yeah, and the good thing is that a lot of restaurants are now starting to serve Coke Zero more. It's funny because I'm so conditioned when I go through a drive-thru to say Diet Coke, like, because I don't even think about it. Because it's all for so long, it's been the only option.
Oh, my first question is always, do you have Coke Zero?
Well, that's good, and that's like I'm starting to learn to ask that. But like there's there was a transition period of time for sure where I just was like, yeah, Diet Coke. And it's
Yeah,
not like I won't drink it. I just
Yeah, and I don't know who wrote this article. It's on Healthline. But they basically talked about the differences, and then they said, we think these will be not significant to most people. And I was like, who is this? This person is a robot. Are you kidding? When I go to a
of
restaurant...
course it's significant.
Yeah, and they don't have Coke Zero, and I have to say, fine, I'll have a Diet Coke. It's ruining my whole experience.
Yeah.
They're
Don't you think like fountain Diet Coke is probably at least better?
It's slightly better. But yeah, it's like, obviously I'm being hyperbolic. It doesn't ruin my whole experience. But like, I definitely prefer Coke Zero. It's not like a toss-up. I'm not like, oh yeah, just
yeah.
There you go. Now you know the differences.
We really drug that out.
And then Steven and I also have good beer news. Great American Beer Festival announced their brewery list. The preliminary brewery
Which
list.
we will be attending.
Yeah, we're
By
going.
the way, if you didn't know already, we're very excited.
Missed 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Luckily, we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, it didn't happen 2 years.
It didn't happen, so
Yeah.
that's good. But we need to get back to this festival and drink some fundamental observation. So I figured I would just report on some of the notable breweries that are there and maybe some notable missing breweries. So stay tuned for those after this. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have any ads. I listen to a lot of podcasts that have like a few ads, and I'm always so annoyed when they're like tease something and then they say like after this ad. So there you go. Look at that. We don't have any ads.
Yeah,
we should have ads. We should have more ads.
Ad-free content.
We need more ads.
No one wants to advertise. We can make some
But
fake
if I
ads.
had, if there were ads,
Okay, well,
that's where I would put it.
We're doing an ad next week.
Live read.
Yeah, but it's gonna be fictitious. I'm gonna write it. You'll see.
Okay. All right. So some of the Great American Beer Festival notables. Allagash. We're excited to try Allagash White, which I'm sure we've had before, but now we have a deeper appreciation. This is the problem with this festival this year. We have a deeper appreciation for like the whole
everything.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's gonna be mind blowing, I think.
I'm ready. My body is ready.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So Allagash, we're excited for, and of course they always have their Cool Ship series. So Resurgam and Cool Ship Red and all those, which we have a renewed appreciation for. Bottle Logic, of course. We're very excited to hopefully get some fundamental observation there. Cigar City. Don't know if that's still... it's so nostalgic for me.
Well, I will definitely be drinking their Hunapa, but I will not be drinking Jai Lai. Because it's overrated.
Dang, bro.
I'm just kidding. It's fine. I just don't like it.
But anyway, that one is just nostalgic for me because it was like the very first brewery we ever went to at the Great American Beer Festival.
Yeah. Do you still have your beanie?
Still have my beanie.
We got to bring our beanies.
Yeah.
I got to find it. I still have it.
I know where mine is.
I don't know where it is. Yeah.
Our 3 favorite Pacific Northwest breweries will be there: Fremont, Bale-Breaker, and Rubens.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, we're very excited about those 3. Weldworks, my all-time favorite, will be there, serving up some strange sour beer, I'm sure. But the thing we need to go do there is Medianoche, because they will most definitely have that, and they will most definitely have some different iterations of that stout. So they usually do.
Yeah, that I want to try for sure.
That's always a long line, but it's a line worth waiting in multiple times. So some notable Texas breweries: St. Arnold,
patron saint of beer,
and 903. They always have very weird, fun stuff. Une Ane and Hubbard's Cave will be there, so that's fun because both their sour side and stout side are just so good. Maybe they'll have a El Zacatan for you again.
Yeah.
And Taxman Brewing is another one that you were looking forward to because you just had their quad, the deduction.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm excited to see what they bring, and I want to try their lineup because I think that's a really cool brewery.
Oh, Ninkasi is another one you mentioned is going to be there.
Yeah, Ninkasi, because they make Dawn of the Red, and I think they still make it, but for whatever reason I cannot find it in my local grocery stores. So I hope they bring it because I want to try that again. It's a red IPA. I really like it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. The other one I'm kind of excited about is Athletic Brewing. So if you're familiar with them, they brew all non-alcoholic beers, but they do them in every style. They have like a blackberry goza. They have IPA. They have every style in a non-alcoholic version. And one of the reasons I haven't tried any of them is that I don't want to buy a 6-pack or 12-pack.
Yeah, it's a lot to commit to.
Non-alcoholic beer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be cool because they're going to be there. So it'll be nice to like go there, maybe take a little break from the alcohol and drink some non-alcoholic beers and just try them.
We should plan that for like halfway through the session. Do a non-alcoholic beer mini tour. Yeah. Because technically we'll be sobering up a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, kind of a weird one to be excited about, but I'm excited to have a chance to try those beers in a setting.
I've heard really good things about
them. Try them. Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they're making all those styles. One of the challenges of making non-alcoholic beer is making it flavorful, so kind of see. Then I also wrote some notable missing.
Uh-oh, we're going to be sad. We're going to be sad.
Yeah. So one of my, I think it was this, we've gone 3 times, right? 3 times.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 3 times. I wanted to say it was either the second or third time. There was a brewery called J. Wakefield. They are from Florida. They were there, and it was one of those like where the line was long, and we were like, oh, what's this for? And somebody said, oh, it's J. Wakefield. I had no idea what they were talking about. Never heard of them before. And all of their beers were really good, especially their sours. They are not there. So I feel like it's only been 1 year that we've been there that they were there. I know they do a big festival in Florida now. I guess they established themselves very quickly, and they have enough pull to get some of the big breweries down there for their festival. So I think it's called Wakefest.
They're like, we don't come to you, you come to us.
Yeah, exactly. So they will not be there. I have to mention Toppling Goliath because I love that brewery. I am so sad that ever since our first year there, they have not returned. And again, I think they've kind of pulled back, and they do some of the more local beer fests and stuff, but they don't travel for this one. So that's a bummer. Now, the big shocker, because they always have a ginormous setup, is New Belgium.
Oh, really? They haven't announced yet?
They are not on the list. Now, I know this is a preliminary list, but I don't think they're coming.
You know what's so funny? I can still picture their booth.
Yeah, kind of black and whitish.
And they had the
like a subway tile.
And it had the neon.
Yep, the big neon.
The big neon, New Belgium. Like, yeah, very distinctive. Yeah, it's surprising.
Yeah, okay, and then, the other one, this is the interesting part of the story, is that Bell's isn't going to be there either.
Oh,
and they've been there historically.
I want to drink Two Hearted.
Yeah, well, we know that Bell's and New Belgium are both owned by Kieran now.
Is that why?
And neither of them are considered independent anymore. Now, that does not exclude them from the beer festival, but I will say that the Great American Beer Festival is run by the Home Brewers Association. They are very much a part of that whole sort of like keep craft beer independent. Yeah. So they definitely have a bias towards small independent breweries. I was looking at the list this preliminary list of breweries, and it has a little like mark, the little upside down bottle next to all the breweries that are still independent. It was like 99% of them. I mean, I think the only one, there was 10 Barrel that's coming to the beer festival. They're AB InBev. There's Avery Brewing in Colorado, I think, and they're I don't know who owns them. I haven't looked into that. But Avery Brewing did not have the independent symbol next to them. And then there was just a couple more that I'd never heard of, and that was it. Like 4 out of 500 breweries coming. So this is definitely a huge bias now, I think even more now, towards the independent craft breweries. And so maybe New Belgium just felt like they weren't welcome, decided to not come.
Yeah, it's possible. Could be.
I mean, it's not a travel issue for them. They're in Colorado.
They're right there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not hard for them to go. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting story, and it's interesting that Bell's isn't going to be there either.
That makes me really sad.
So, but we're going to go to New Belgium anyway, so it doesn't...
Yeah, we're going to go do the tour. I'm super excited about that, by the way.
One of the reasons I like New Belgium at the beer festival is that you can get La Folie, Le Terroir,
Transatlantic Creek.
and Transatlantic Creek. but we'll just get those at the brewery instead.
Yeah, I haven't had La Folie in a few years, and I'm very excited to try it again.
Yeah, Le Terroir is my all-time favorite of those, but
okay,
a hoppy sour. There's not a lot of those. That is a sad thing about craft beer, is there are not a lot of hoppy sours. That is a style that is not made.
There used to be a really good hoppy sour.
Yeah, it's called Aunt Sally. Make it again, Lagunitas, if you're listening.
It's like on my wish list. If I had 3 wishes, I might burn one on Aunt Sally. All right, okay. Moving on.
Okay. Tears were shed.
Tears are shed. I don't want to get on my.
I had to edit out Jason bawling.
I don't want to get on my soapbox again about Aunt Sally. Actually, you tell your story time with Steve. I'm going to look on their website and see if there's
been any new
updates.
Okay.
Because it says may return or something like that on their website.
Okay. So, story time with Steve. This is news to Jason, so he does not know. Yesterday, I made one of the first steps towards becoming a level 1 Cicerone.
Did you really?
Yeah. So, level 1 is a written test, the online test, and it's called the Certified Beer Server Test. There are 41 styles that you need to know for this test. Okay. And there's some flashcards. So that was my first step, was I bought the flashcards for the beer styles that I need to know for the Certified Beer Server exam. There is a package where you buy a study guide. I don't know if there's like videos and stuff, like online classroom, or if it's just the workbooks and stuff. But anyway, you buy the study guide and the test together, because the test costs $70. So for $200, you can do the whole, like, you get all the study materials and the test.
Okay.
So I'm deciding whether I want to do that or not, or if I just want to pay for the test and like kind of study on my own. So the nice thing about the study guide is it's going to tell you exactly what you need to know for the test. So that might be worth it. But anyway, my first step was buying these flashcards so I can start studying the 41 styles I need to know. And actually, I just went ahead and bought the double set. So there's the 41 styles I need to know for this test, and then there's another expansion set with it that has the other like 100 styles I have to know for the level 2 Cicerone test.
Well, you know what this means, Steven.
What's that?
I need to start studying. I need to get those flashcards. We got to become level 2s together.
I was excited. I was mostly just kind of like tooling around on their website and thought like why not just buy these flashcards and at least start trying to. The fact that there's 41 styles I need to know is.
Come on, we memorized like 100 ions in chemistry or whatever.
You know what's funny is that like I'll tell another story. It's story time with Steve too. So I took chemistry I took it in high school. Mm-hmm. I took that during the summer, so it was like accelerated, and it was great. But
bad choice.
Yes, it was fast, right?
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to take chemistry again until I was in college and trying to get into nursing school. There are 2 chemistry courses at Sac State. I don't know if you know this, but there was a Chem 1A. Okay. And a Chem 6A, a Chem like 1A and 1B, and then 6A and 6B. And the 6A series was easier chemistry, mostly for healthcare, people who needed a chemistry class but weren't like chem majors.
Yeah, like tangential chemistry.
Whereas Chem 1A was like the first intro to chemistry, but for like chem majors and stuff. But the Chem 6 series always filled up so fast. And if you weren't early in registration, you had no choice to take Chem 1A. Well, I had no idea really what I was getting into the first time I took it. I just was ill prepared. I had a couple other really tough classes at the same time, and I just couldn't do it. And so like the first 2 weeks, a lot was nomenclature, right? Just knowing how to name molecules. And I just was like, I just didn't spend enough time on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think I dropped out of it or something, like, because I just couldn't hang with my other courses that I was taking. I retook it, and I ended up having the exact same thing happen. I still had to take M1A because I couldn't get into the 6 series. And then, but I had the same professor, and he was amazing. He was so good. Like, it had nothing to do with the professor, but I knew exactly what I was going to have to do for those first 2 weeks. So all I did was just study nomenclature. And man, I was like so good at it. Like I just memorized all those names, and I could just look at any like molecule and name it and know exactly how to name it.
Shocking fact. Studying actually works.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the other good thing I did that semester was I took the bus to college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so from Woodland to Sacramento. So I had probably a good hour at least, hour to hour and a half on the bus. I mean, it wasn't that far, but it was because I was taking the bus. It took me a while. So I just study on the bus.
Smart.
It was so awesome. I didn't have to think about traffic. I didn't think about anything. I just sat on the bus and studied. Every once in a while I would like nap instead if I was tired, but I got so much studying done on the bus.
That's awesome.
Yep, and I like aced that chemistry class.
Very good.
So anyway, I have the capability to memorize this.
Yeah, if you memorized all that stuff, you can memorize 41 measly beers.
But I am a little older now, and I've had like a lot of beers since.
you kill a lot of brain cells.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I'm very excited.
You'll be fine. All right, we're gonna have to talk about this more after offline. We got to go on the stream together, Steven. And then cool. Then attenuation can be brought to you by 2 level 2s in like a year from now. All right.
It'd be fun to take the test at the same time too, the level 2 test at least.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Okay, should we get to the main topic?
Yeah.
Dark lager.
Here we can prove how far we have to go before we reach Cicerones. Well, I feel like the tasting segment is enough to prove that
we don't know anything.
We have a long way to go, but we can't even describe the color of our beers.
I know, we're gonna have to really up our color vocabulary game.
I think we got another yellow and orangish one.
Yellow, brown, yeah, amber. We need more. Okay.
Dark lagers. So what are the dark lagers we're going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about Dunkel, Schwarzbier, and then
Schwarzbier. Yeah.
Schwarzbier. And you got to say the last one because I'm not even going to try.
Tamave, or the other name is Cherna.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then one more.
And Rauchbier. So first of all, Dunkel just means dark. Schwarzbier means black beer.
You detecting a pattern?
Yeah. Tamave is dark in Czech, and Cherna is black in Czech. so dark, funny. Black. And Rauchbier is smoke beer, so that's the one. But it's kind of funny. The German words are so like Biergarten, like the beer garden.
Yeah.
It's very English. Like I mean, obviously a lot of the English roots are Germanic, but it's so funny how those words are so much different. And then I look at some of the words from the like the Czech lagers, because there's a ton of different Czech lagers, all varying in different like strengths and stuff. And I was looking at all those words, I was like, I don't know how to say any of those. Mm-hmm. The German is much more like self-explanatory.
Totally.
But yeah, okay, so like we kind of alluded to, these dark lagers were they were the original lagers. So just like when we were talking about pale lagers, we're really talking about 2 areas, right? So you have Bavaria in Germany, which is kind of like your area around Munich geographically. Also, the more I study all this, the more I realize I do not know European geography. So that's also another thing I love. I'm actually excited to like see and learn about, because I never really realized like how big Germany is. Like Germany, France, like Poland, Germany, France, and Spain are like these like 4 pretty big countries in Europe, like all kind of lined up, like sort of diagonally. But anyway, I just like realizing I don't know that much about it.
Yeah, did you ever look at I always like to look at those pictures of like the maps where they like overlay the US onto Europe or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, the European countries are obviously nowhere near as big as the United States, but when you start to put them all together, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And well, it's really interesting too, because like I lived in Romania for a while, and Romania is basically the size of Oregon.
Yeah, it's tiny.
But there's very distinct areas of Romania. Southern Romania like has a whole different accent than northern Romanians. If you get closer towards the Bulgarian border, you get people that are more Catholic on that side. But basically the whole rest of the country is like more like Russian sort of Slavic Orthodox religion. So, but in in a country that's the size of Oregon, it's kind of crazy how much like regional differences there are. Like it doesn't seem like it's big enough to have regional differences. But really, like, and what I was talking about is that's actually similar in Germany. Right, you had these actually huge regional geographic differences, and so you had Bavaria, the state of Bavaria in Germany, that is kind of your birthplace of lagers, German lagers, and then you have Bohemia, which is your Czech Republic area, that's the birthplace of Czech lagers, and those two areas were sort of influencing each other.
Okay.
At that time, like they were close enough geographically, they were influencing each other. But you also have these like other regions of Germany, northern regions and stuff that are brewing different beers because like that's regionally that's like a better beer for them to brew. But for many reasons, this Bavarian area of Germany was perfect for making lagers because they had lots of these hillsides where they could dig in and create these like underground caves to lager the beer.
Natural refrigeration.
And they also were influenced by an important law called the Reinheitsgebot. It really only applied to the state of Bavaria, and it was the German purity law. In the 16th century, they made a law that said all beer could be made out of was barley, hops, and water. They failed to mention yeast.
They didn't know about yeast yet,
Yeah,
right?
they didn't really know about it other than they just kept moving it from one brew to the next. I guess because it was like a completely continuous thing, they didn't even, that was like the magic. Like, of course the magic, yeah, we don't even have to mention that. The magic things that make the beer. But yeah, so hops, barley, and hops, barley, and water. And the most important thing was that it was barley. Not wheat, not rye. And one of the main reasons they think this law was even made was that it protected bakeries and bread makers.
Interesting.
So they would always have wheat and rye, and they did not have to compete with the breweries for beer ingredients or bread ingredients. So
I believe it.
So it's one of those things, if you think back, like maybe there's a brewery that wants to brew with something other than barley, but at the same time, like you kind of are protecting two industries and that like you make it so they don't have to compete. They're not competing over a certain ingredient.
Ingredients, yeah.
So in many ways, I'm sure that there were plenty of breweries and bakeries that were fine with we're good with this law because it made it so they didn't have to fight over ingredients. But yeah, a lot of that, a beer is made a certain way because of laws that were made, right? There's no other reason other than this is the best style of beer that they could make with what they were allowed to brew beer with. And
we've seen that like time and time again. And then once they start doing it, it becomes the thing everyone gets used to.
Yeah,
it becomes the Diet Coke or the Coke Zero, and then you don't change because that's what people come to expect. So yeah, it's kind of cool and interesting how that happens.
Yeah, and I think it's the most interesting thing about all these old beer styles is that they're so like geographically locked and so linked to the culture and the laws and the taxes and all that stuff, where now it's like you just manipulate the water, you manipulate, you can get German hops, you can get American hops, you can make beer exactly how you want and imitate these styles without like any obstacle. It's like you don't have to have a local style anymore.
Right.
That is the sad thing, the thing that we lose.
We live in a post-romantic beer world.
Yeah, post-romantic world in general.
But we have TikTok, Steven.
Yeah, we do have TikTok. So
how could we live without TikTok?
I don't know. I do learn a lot of good things on TikTok.
I don't even have to.
And I get a lot of good recipes on TikTok and life hacks. Jason's looking at me like he doesn't believe that I'm actually serious.
I don't have TikTok.
He doesn't realize how important TikTok is in my life.
I'm a Luddite.
It's not that important.
I think we should.
We do need to start the Attenuation of Beer podcast TikTok page.
Oh no! A friend of mine says we should have stopped all technology at GameCube. Like right when GameCube came out.
What?
Yep. That's all the technology we needed.
That's his.
It's the cutting off point. Technology has not done us any favors past GameCube.
I don't even know what that cutoff is. Like if we cut off at GameCube, what do we not have?
GameCube came out in 2001.
Oh, we like barely have cell phones.
Yeah, we would never get the iPhone because iPhone was like what, 2005?
Yeah, something like that. We got a Nokia phone.
Think of how much better reality and society was before the iPhone. Sorry, the iPhone was 2007? Wow.
Dang.
Imagine life with no iPhone, Steven.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking.
I don't want to.
People have to talk to each other.
Yeah. No, I totally understand where you're coming from. What I don't understand is how we functioned. And we did. So again, like, this is not really helping my point in that, like, we were just fine. But, like, I don't know how you got anywhere in a new place.
Oh, you looked at maps.
I know, but, like, maps? Yeah, you can't, like, find a restaurant on a map. You have to, like, ask people, ask
Yeah, you
around.
go talk
like,
to locals. Where do you eat? And then you make new friends.
I need to know, like, what's trending on TikTok. Like, where's the cool place to go? Sorry. I love playing devil's advocate and watching Jason's face.
You're fine. If 20-year-old me could meet 40-year-old me, we would be diametrically opposed. We would hate each other by the end of that conversation. Yeah. So it's fine. Steven, in one scant year, you'll be a Luddite just like me.
Yeah.
Something happens to you when you turn 40. You just get mad. A wave of frustration and anger just washes over you, and you hate everything.
I'm just glad knowing I'll never quite be as old as you.
If I could die before you, and then you'll be older than me. In fact, I intend to.
I have a love-hate relationship with technology. And again, it's even the fact that it influences craft beer, and just the fact that maybe 15 short years ago, craft beer was completely different, right?
Yeah.
Not even that dialed in as much as it is now. And you can go back 100 years, 150 years, and look at refrigeration changing the landscape of beer, but now it's completely different. I mean, now technology has put it at a whole new level. I don't know if I talked about this before, there's this thing called Smart Brew. It's basically this brewing system that's being marketed to, let's say you have a restaurant and you want to add a brewery to your restaurant. You want to have fresh made in-house beers on tap, but essentially it's completely automated brew system that they'll pump out a standard IPA, pump out a stout, to pump out whatever you want. Basically, you're not innovating, you're not doing anything, but you just these ingredients, this beer system, you're going to get this kind of beer. It's going to be in-house beer. It's going to be fresh, right? You're not innovating, you're not a brewery per se, but you're making beer for your restaurant that you can market as your own. That's the most boring thing ever.
It's like a beer in a box almost.
Yeah.
They're just here's this package.
Yeah. It's a brew system. I mean, you're brewing beer.
And then put your name on it.
But it's the most boring thing ever. So anyway, I'm just saying that's, I don't know how well they even sell this Smart Brew system, but it's just interesting that's kind of we just kind of ruin everything and homogenize everything and try to cash in on something that craft beer. So it's nice when, we have this Reinheitsgebot beer purity laws. It still has influence. There are still German breweries that adhere to the Reinheitsgebot and wear it as a badge of honor. They still put it on their cans that they're, and I think the law has evolved over time, of course, a lot of sort of lawsuits, the modern brewery landscape, I'm not even talking about the very, very modern craft beer revolution, but over the last few hundred years, there's been a lot of push from especially other countries in Europe to be you can't just not allow these beers to be in your country, you have to allow for distribution. So but anyway, the law has sort of evolved and nobody really has to follow the Reinheitsgebot anymore, but there are still some, if you want to call your beer that's brewed in Bavaria, if you want to call it beer, I do think it still has to follow the Reinheitsgebot, but some of the rules have definitely relaxed. But yeah, there's breweries, and what's interesting is there are a few breweries in the United States even that claim to follow the Reinheitsgebot. I think Allstat here in Austin, they try to follow that rule. Beer I think I drank last week called Side Pull. It was a collaboration between Fair State Cooperative and Bierstadt Lagerhaus in Denver. Bierstadt Lagerhaus, they 100% follow the Reinheitsgebot.
Really? That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And one of the styles, and this is, I guess the whole point that I was trying to make from the very beginning was that this Reinheitsgebot law pushed lagers to the forefront, because a lot of northern Germany breweries, they've been brewing ales for a long time. The whole country had really been brewing ales for a long time, but the purity laws really made lagers the style you want to make, because you don't have a lot of, like, you don't have herbs, you don't have fruits, you don't have things to add to the beer to manipulate the beer, create better flavors. I mean, you just have the basic barley, and, you know, even when you're talking about hops, you're talking about German noble hops. I mean, these are like not very flavorful,
very mild.
Yeah, very mild hops. So you have very mild ingredients and not that exciting you know, nothing that you can do a whole lot with, but with lagers you can. And so you get to showcase the malts. You use the lager process to really round out the beer, smooth it out, and create a good beer. And it was just, that was the beer style that the Reinheitsgebot really made, you know, that's what pushed lagers to the forefront, is that law. So anyway, that's kind of like what the culture and the tax, you know, we don't always talk about like how tax loopholes and then, you know, just laws in general kind of shape the beer landscape, and that's what they did in Bavaria.
Lots of brewing decisions were influenced by what is most efficient tax-wise. Yep.
So this Dunkel is really what came out of the Reinheitsgebot, and it's always been called Dunkel. The Dunkel style is liquid bread.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's really the malty bready toasted bread, maybe sort of a mild toffee sweetness, but it's going to be kind of full-bodied. It's going to have a reddish tint to it usually, and a little bit sweet with no bitterness. That's your Dunkel sort of flavor profile. Low IBUs in the teens, maybe mid-20s, but that's about as high as you're going to get. And mainly brewed with Munich malts. You'll see other malt profiles being made now in like modern Dunkels, used like Pilsner malts and caramel malts, a mixture of malts, but really Munich malts was kind of the, like 100% Munich malt is your really like standard Dunkel, like your true to style Dunkel.
Okay.
That's the beer that came out of Bavaria. Schwarzbier developed a little bit later. That comes in sort of 1540-ish.
And they have I was reading in the beer Bible, there's no common ancestor. He used a concept, and I was like, oh, this guy's such a nerd. He said parallel evolution.
Yeah, it seems as they should, almost as if they should have a common ancestor, but
they don't. I think like a really good example of parallel evolution is, I think, sight, like the eyeball, is an example of like parallel evolution, like where it arose. It doesn't have like a single. I could be wrong. We'll postscript this. But I think it doesn't have like a single common ancestor, but it arose in like distinct evolution.
Vision in general, or
vision in general, like the ability to detect light. Kind of cool. Basically, just saying like it kind of arose in two places that they didn't directly influence each other.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what he was referencing when he used that concept, parallel evolution. But sorry, carry on.
Just kind of from a different geographical area. The area was called, I think, Kulmbach, or another area close to that was called Bad Kostritz.
Not to be confused with Good Kostritz.
Yeah, Bad Kostritz.
It's on the wrong side of the tracks.
But these were monks brewing in this area. For a long time, Schwarzbier was an ale, and it didn't technically convert fully to lager till like 1870s.
Huh, crazy.
Yeah, but this is a darker beer than the Dunkel, but clear and a lower alcohol. So you're talking about 5% alcohol, and a dark beer that you hold up to the light and actually can kind of see through.
Okay.
And your flavor profile is going to be more cola, licorice.
I like that.
Some more of the coffee and chocolate flavors. So just a little bit darker roast. And I guess the other thing to mention too is that until Josef Groll, not Josh, Josef Groll started brewing Pilsner in Bavaria and Bohemia, you had these like older kilning methods for the malt, right? So they were a little bit less precise, and that's why you ended up having darker beers. So that was another sort of like, not only were, taxes and laws shaping the way the beer was, but just the technology. And then we also talked about decoction, taking malt from the mash tun, heating it back up, bringing it to boiling again, and then adding that back into the mash. For a long time, they would do that. They would have like they would do that 2 or 3 times during the mash, like a double or triple decoction. And actually, the more they modified the malt, once they started like actually having a little bit more of scientific control over the malt they were growing and doing different strains and stuff, it actually got less necessary to do decoction, and you could actually create a bad beer with decoction by doing this to the malt, whereas earlier iteration, that's what you wanted to do. So that's another thing where you see technology kind of making these brewing processes obsolete. Yeah, exactly. And then there's breweries now, and like sort of the craft beer revolution, where they're trying to get back to like
decoction.
Doing those. Yeah. We're like, no, we want to do it how they used to do it. We don't.
I think decoction is like controversial too. Like, I think some people swear by it.
Yep. Yeah, it's very much, we don't need to do that anymore. No, we
and
do.
It's like,
that's what made the beer the way it was
exactly.
supposed to
like
be.
That's part of why the beer is good, or is the way it tastes, is you got to do it that way. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's where the beer gets the malty, bready flavor, is from the decoction mash. So who knows?
It's almost like there's a lot of strong opinions in the crowd.
No.
Everyone just gets along.
It's funny. I follow some Instagram pages that almost 100% devoted to just like posting memes every day.
Yeah.
But the memes are very, I don't know, they're like anti-craft beer snob, and it's a very weird, like, it's a weird like subculture. And they're beer snob.
Are they making fun of us?
Probably, yeah.
That's fine.
Although I will say, like, when I look at the memes, it's almost like a lot of them go over my head, honestly. Because I think I'm not quite, I have a beer podcast, but,
You don't live deep enough in the internet? Tell me.
I don't live deep enough into.
Send me these accounts, Steven. I'll translate them into normie for you.
Well,
I exist in very deep levels of the internet.
Well, it's funny because I don't know whether it's like just the meme format that's going over my head, or just like the beer knowledge, like the beer, like it's just, there's a whole nother world of craft beer fandom, nerdiness, snobbiness, or whatever, that's like so far above me. You know what I mean? Like, do you feel that way too?
I have to see like what you're talking about to form like a solid opinion of it, but I do know what you're talking about. I have a lot of interests online that are pretty specific, and then I tend to like to follow the interest and also follow like the backlash culture against the interest, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the culture and the backlash culture overlap in a way where you can no longer tell the difference, and I find that fascinating. So
okay, yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things they like, one of these Instagram pages, like, they kind of make fun of is, and I've made fun of the fact that every IPA seems to be dry hopped with Citra Simcoe and Mosaic or Citra and Galaxy, or yeah, it's funny where you get excited about something and you realize, like, is it really? I don't know, it's all the same. But anyway, that's one of the things they kind of make fun of, is that they actually accuse breweries like Treehouse of basically making the same beer and then putting a new name on it. Like, it's literally the same beer, and
they just relabel it.
How would you know? And so anyway, there's a lot of memes about like a new IPA coming out that just has a different label on it, that kind of thing. So, and I don't it doesn't go over my head, but I don't give that much thought to the fact that maybe they're even doing that they're even brewing a beer.
It's not relevant to you.
Yeah, like, are they really brewing the same beer again and just putting a different label on it? I don't know, maybe.
All right, send me all these accounts. I'll start following them.
Okay.
And we'll follow up on this. There was a really good podcast. It's now dead. It's over. It technically died years ago, but It was called Reply All, and they had a really fun segment called Yes, 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 No.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and they would like look at a super obscure like a tweet where they had layered like 4 memes on top of each other, and then they would kind of like take 40 minutes to deconstruct it for you, and I really liked that. It was a great segment.
Yeah, the internet's a strange place.
Yeah, so yeah, send me those over.
Okay, yeah, I'll let the internet master.
Oh, I'm not a master, but I would say on the spectrum of like normie to basement dweller, I definitely fall in closer to the basement dweller side.
You're a neckbeard.
Yeah, I'm way more neckbeard than you used to, for sure. And I don't think it's not necessarily a good thing, but yes, send me these accounts. I will do some research.
All right, we'll get back to our dark lagers here. So, sorry, listeners. So the other side, like I said, we were talking about Bavaria. So we kind of had Dunkels and Schwarzbiers coming out of the 2 different German areas. And then you have the Czech lagers, which were also dark, moved to what, like the Czech Pilsners we think of now, almost exclusively light lagers that we think of when you think of a Czech Pils.
They almost got the dark lagers and almost went completely out of business. I think it said they had like almost total market domination. And then I think it said in the 1960s, they were down to like 10% of the market. The light lager, and I mean, it exists today as the most popular beer style. It did damage when it came out, yeah.
Oh, it basically dominated every market it ever went into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the 800-pound gorilla, yeah.
Yeah, it's the beer that is difficult to compete with. It really is. But yeah, these, so Czech, Tmave, and Černé, which are either dark or black beers. There's actually not a lot known about them. They're just, I mean, I think I would assume they have just a very similar evolution as the Bavarian styles. You know, that's just, you have darker malts, more primitive kilning techniques of these malts, and so you just have darker beers.
Yeah.
And again, there's just the lagering technique, which creates a smoother beer. It rounds out a lot of those imperfections that come from the malts not being necessarily perfectly kilned. Take that beer, lager it over 3 or 4 months, really rounds out and becomes drinkable. So why not do that, right? That's like your brewing techniques shape the beer that you make, and I mean that's just how it was. And I obviously, again, when the lighter lagers came in, people wanted to drink those, and it just kind of took over as the dominant style. But I just think not a lot known about the beginnings or the evolution of that darker Czech lagers, but I would say it's probably very similar to the German ones in my very limited knowledge. Seems reasonable to think that.
Parallel evolution.
So yeah, those are kind of the 3 main dark lagers, a couple German versions and a Czech version. And then I really wanted to talk about this Rauchbier, kind of a lesser known dark lager. There are only 2 breweries in the world making this beer, and they're both in Bamberg, Germany. And so basically they're making this beer that the locals love, and they will just not stop making this style of beer. And when tourists come in, they usually ask for a lighter lager, and it is denied them. And they're told, no, we drink smoked beer here. And they drink it initially and do not like it. And the locals tell them, drink it again. Have another one.
That's how you learn to love all beer styles.
Right.
Repetition.
Yeah, apparently it's how you learn to appreciate the smoke flavor. Yes.
Yeah, this is smoke beer, and I've actually had I think it comes in like it's a bottle with like a yellow and red label.
Yeah, Schlenkerlas.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome. But we talked about it a little bit in the pre-roll, and I think it's fascinating. Part of the reason you said the locals tell you to drink it again and again is because initially, to the uninitiated palate, when you taste that smoke, your brain like automatically clicks over to like, oh, this is meat. And
Which is also fascinating.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Like smoke and meat just go together in your brain. And then I do remember the first time I tasted this, I was like, oh, it tastes like bacon. And that must have been my brain just being like, oh, smoke.
This is meat.
Yeah, this is meat. But they say, and why they recommend to drink it over and over again, is eventually like you uncouple that connection in your brain, at least for this beer. And then you can start to taste the other flavors, which that sounds so cool. And now I'm like, oh, I've only drank like one. Maybe I should get a bunch and just drink it over and over again until I can taste the other flavors. But it's super cool.
Yeah. So there's a Alaskan Brewing. One of their most famous beers is called the Alaskan Smoked Porter. It's one of their most awarded beers and a very popular beer. But one of the things is they use these smoked malts, just like they do at these breweries for the Rauchbier. And they use a wood that is often used in smoking salmon. Well, oddly enough, when people drink this beer, a lot of times they say that they taste salmon. And that's because they have this connection in their brain between that wood's taste and salmon. So it takes them 2 or 3 bottles of this beer before that starts to uncouple, and then you start to taste everything else, and then you sort of appreciate the whole entire flavor of the beer. But it's the initial flavor of the smoke just is overwhelming, and it sort of overrides everything else that the brain is tasting and says like, oh, this is meat, this is salmon, this.
Yeah,
the whole pattern recognition of your brain.
Yeah, totally. It's like, oh yeah, we know what this is. Yeah, it's really cool. I didn't know about this Alaskan that they make the smoked porter, and it looks like they do it every year, and they like put the year of the brew on the bottle, which I love when they do that. Like Bigfoot does that with their barley wine. I gotta try to find one of these. This looks so cool.
Yeah. Alaskan Smoked Porter. So smoked beer. So technically there's just those 2 breweries in Germany making this style of beer. They have a whole method of adding the wood, smoking the malts. If you do it incorrectly, you can really destroy the flavor of the malts. Yeah. So they have sort of time-honored techniques, and they don't really divulge the techniques. But basically they're just adding the wood and everything at the right amount, the right temperature that they've perfected over many, many, many years. But so if you ever see that Schlenkerlaws or Spezial is the other one, try it. You'll recognize if you just Google it, you'll recognize it when you see it.
Yeah, you've probably seen it before, but you probably never bought it.
Yeah, you probably didn't know what you were looking for or you were looking at.
Oh, and then honorable mention when we were doing a little bit of research for this. I had tried this a long time ago, but again, it's like one of those things I did not appreciate what I was drinking. But Brazil actually makes a dark lager called
Jingu.
Yeah, they call it black beer. And I had tried it before, and I remember liking it. But I really want to now that we've done this episode, I really want to get my hands on it again, because it was even called out in the beer Bible as like a really good example of the style. So it's pretty cool.
What's funny is that I stopped in at Specs today, which is like my Total Wine kind of. Not Total Wine, like Bevmo. More Bevmo. So it's more like kind of a drink, like a liquor store kind of.
Yeah, like what I mean? More towards the hard alcohol, but they have beer.
Yeah. So I just stopped in there today because I wanted to see if I was running another errand, and I thought I would see if they had anything that I might want to drink on the podcast tonight that was like dark lager or something. And I saw that Zingu, and I was like, what is that? It said black beer on it.
Yeah, black beer.
So I Googled it, and I was like, Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I guess it's like German immigrants to Brazil that started brewing that beer there. But yeah.
There's a lot of German expatriates in South America. So it's interesting. I think they there's a lot of influence you can see. Yeah.
It was just funny to like see that today, and then start doing a little bit more research like in the beer Bible and stuff, and see it mentioned again. So I mean, there's not a lot of examples of that style of beer, I guess. So the few that are even out there are the ones that are going to get mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool. It's cool, and then it's from Brazil, which is kind of, it makes it exotic, I guess, to me. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I just remember seeing it long time ago before I even had like a concept of craft beer. Like I was just like starting to get into craft beer, and they had it like a local grocery store, and I just thought it looked so cool because it has like I don't know if it's an alligator or like a crocodile on the bottle, and it's like black beer. It sounded so cool. Yeah, it has like an exotic name. So.
All right, here's another funny story I came across today. So there's this brewery called Kostritzer Brewery. It's one of the oldest producers of Schwarzbier in Germany. It's in Bad Kostritz. And first of all, even today at Specs, looking at all the a few of the older like German beers, for some reason they all say oldest brewery in the world.
Wait, do they really?
There's like multiple that say that. I'm like, which one really is it?
They're all trying to claim it.
Okay, so anyway, this brewery in Bad Kostritz, they're one of the oldest Schwarzbier makers. So there was a scholar, his name was Wilhelm von Humboldt, in 1823. He wrote to his wife about his and his friend's diet in Kostritz. And this is what he wrote.
I'm ready.
He wrote, "Since I stopped drinking tea, it's all over. Once I'm on the edge of the abyss, and one step further, I'm swimming in beer. Oh God, dear child, my friend Goethe doesn't have an appetite for anything, not for bouillon, meat, vegetables. He lives on beer and rolls, drinks large glasses in the morning, and debates with the servant whether he should drink dark or light brown Kostritzer."
Nice. He's living life. Just eating bread and drinking beer.
Just rolls.
Just rolls.
Bread and liquid bread.
Yeah, and liquid bread. Yeah.
I just love this. Once I'm on the edge of the abyss, one step forward, I'm swimming in beer.
It's a recipe for health.
Oh my God, I love that. I just love that. Like, it's beer. He doesn't, meat, doesn't want it. Vegetables,
doesn't want
it.
Sounds like my palate when I was in my early 20s. Yeah. Bread. I feel like I lived on breadsticks from various places. Ask my wife. And then beer. I feel a lot of kinship to this individual.
Oh my gosh. That had me rolling. It still has me rolling. I just love, like, I can't get this guy to eat anything else.
Nope.
Beer, bread.
Do you remember Scenario's Pizza?
Yeah, I think so.
They had like a really interesting, weird breadstick. They called it Fred bread.
Okay.
And I would order it often. I would call it in on the way home from work. And I could tell that they used to think it was so weird that I would just order the bread and nothing else, like no pizza. I just wanted the breadsticks. That's what I'd eat for dinner many a day.
Bread.
When I was a strange bachelor.
Oh, man.
I can relate.
It's great.
The edge of the abyss.
Swimming in beer. Well, anyway, that is your short and interesting history of dark lagers. And they kind of just sort of made a full circle recovery. They never went fully away, and they just kind of small pockets kept them alive. And now, of course, with the craft beer revolution, you'll make these beers are made everywhere because you can.
Yeah, because you don't need the local terroir anymore. You can artificially create any conditions. So, all right, well, that was a good one. That was oh, sorry, wait, I don't do that part yet.
Oh my god,
this D.O.R.I.S the Destroyer is hitting
hard, huh?
If you want to reach us, we're available at attenuation.podcast, and we're also available at contact.attenuation@gmail.com. This has been episode 73 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Stephen.
That's me.
We're saying cheers, and we will see you next week for episode 74.
All right, cheers, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram or Facebook for more fun content. Catch you next week. Cheers!